Hey, it's Kaero. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm covering two cards that could potentially see bans in Commander from the new set Tales of Middle-earth. Why do you care? 1. If a ban is likely, you can save money by holding off playing this card if it's likely to see a ban, or selling it now if you have one. And 2, so you can prepare your strategy to counteract these cards even if they're not banned if they see a ton of play to the point of being in a ton of different decks that are draining all the fun from your Commander games. So, watch until the end, share this video with friends so everybody you know is as prepared as possible for these bans of these cards. The first card is ORCISH Bowmasters. As I predicted on the channel, it is making huge waves in the MTG community. During the Lord of the Rings spoiler season, I said just how good I thought this card would be in Modern and Commander alike. Link in the description if you want to see that YouTube short. And it is proving to be the case, so much so that the MTG Commander Rules Committee are watching it very closely to determine if it needs a ban in Commander. Now, before anybody starts being mad about a potential Commander ban, keep in mind that you always do have Rule 0 by your side, meaning that if all players agree they're fine with ORCISH Bowmasters being played, it's still fine to play it in your group. But the fact remains this card is an absolute monster, and in a format where basically every player will eventually have a card that either draws them a lot of cards at once or cards over time, the value this card produces for 2 mana is incredible. Let's take a look at it. This costs 1 black, 1 generic for 1/1 Orc Archer with Flash, which is actually very important when it comes into the battlefield and whenever an opponent draws a card, except the first one they draw at each of their draw steps. ORCISH Bowmasters deals 1 damage to any target, then amass Orcs 1. On the face of it, it's a 2-drop 1/1. If you're not convinced that this card is absolutely amazing, stick with me. I'm going to show you exactly how good it is. At its worst, ORCISH Bowmasters is a 2-drop 1/1 that makes another body that grows over time if you have other amass orc strategies. If you're familiar with War of the Spark, amass was introduced that says basically that you can amass a number. If you don't control an army, then you just make a token army with that power and toughness, and every time you amass, you add that if you have an army. If you don't have an army, you just make another token. So even if you flash this in when nothing's going on, you've got that going for you. However, whenever we look at the ceiling for this card, this is a 2 mana potentially like 5 to 6 damage to 5 or 6 different targets, amassing orcs up to a 5/5 or 6/6 creature. That's just incredible. In games of Commander, when somebody draws, I'm going to draw 3 cards. You're like, great, I'm going to flash in ORCISH Bowmasters. I'm going to make ORCISH Bowmasters a 1/1, have a 3/3 army that works with my other amass strategies, and then I'm going to deal 3 damage to any target, and then you're going to pass the turn, and my next opponent is going to draw more cards, and I'm going to do it again. All this for an investment of 2 mana. So this demands an answer, and potentially people are going to be wasting their removal on something that you played on turn 2 that you just generate value off of and you don't care about. So this card is incredibly powerful. It's very, very good. And if you have one, I would put it in your Commander deck that has black immediately. So the second card we're talking about today is a common, which I also said was an absurdly powerful common whenever the spoiler season was around. Well, why is it a big deal that it's a common though? Because commons are ubiquitous. They're very easy to come by, which is usually very, very cool because anybody who wants to play the card can, regardless of their budget for MTG. However, if commons are too powerful, they can warp formats because they're so widely available and they can just take diversity right out of formats. The common in question is Woodland Bats, and the potentially problematic mechanic is that it triggers not just when a token is sacrificed or created, but both. So there's a ton of token generation in Commander that can take advantage of an effect like this. Entire decks are built around creature tokens, and if it's not that, treasure tokens are plentiful, not to mention the occasional clue token or likely many more food tokens, with the addition of food being a major mechanic in the Tales of Middle-earth set. And as those cards are added to Commander decks, you're going to see a lot more tokens that can just be taken advantage of by this common card. Players are studying the incredibly insane combination of something like Smothering Tithe with the bats, triggers upon treasure entry, and trigger sacrifice. The bats do a ton of work against 3 opponents and could potentially make games unfun, and Commander's a format all about fun, so that's why the ban is being considered for this as well. Let me know what you think in the comments about these 2 cards, and if you've opened either of these cards, keep an eye on price trends and check in with your Commander friends to see if your Rule 0 will take care of the problem if there are bans. And as always, subscribe to this channel to stay informed on MTG news, new sets, gameplay, and more. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.